Hello everyone, my name is Christian. Welcome back to Tekpon. Today our guest is Preet, the CTO and co-founder at Bakstage. Hello.
Hey Christian, thank you for having me.
Thank you for joining. Please tell us what your company does.
So, Backstage is a live two-way customer experience platform that is augmented by artificial intelligence to help deliver premium experiences for businesses. In turn, what that does is helps boost customer satisfaction and lifetime value. So, in short, we help humanize your customer experience.
Okay. What would you say is the biggest problem that you solve for companies?
So, one of the biggest challenges that we see today is helping customers or helping businesses boost their conversion. So, think about right now if you go to a luxury store, uh, think Louis Vuitton, and
Yeah.
over there's always somebody there to help you out and say that, hey, Christian, how can I help you? But if you go to their website today, the only thing there to help you out is a dumb chatbot. That's the only bit of experience that you have. So
Yeah.
what we do is we understand user frustration metrics really well. We understand when the user is just about to drop off, and we enable a live video conversation between the customer and the in-store specialist. So now they can connect with each other using a live video conversation on the website, and now the specialist can help uh, 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 do the entire checkout session. They can help solve any questions that you have, and in turn, we use AI to augment that conversation to boost
Wow.
conversion.
Wow. What are our best features?
Best features is definitely two main things.
Okay.
One is definitely as I told you, that we understand frustration metrics really well when the user is about to drop off, and recommendations. So, for example, think about you are already when you go to fill out buy insurance for your house.
Okay.
Nobody in their right mind today knows what kind of insurance do they need. So they try to search for it, or they try to talk to a customer rep. Now, if you go on a phone call with them, what happens is they put you on hold, and then they probably come back after 5 minutes. We want to make this entire thing real time, where when you are having this, you and I are having this live conversation on, say, Prudential's website or Mass Mutual's website. Our AI, we are working towards making it super smart that as we are talking, we'll be able to give you real time recommendations in terms of what you need. And the other pretty cool thing that our technology enables you to do is you can have one to many live streams or conversations on the website. So, for example, if take the example of the Tekpon podcast,
Yeah.
if you were doing this on tekpon.com and you're saying that I'm going to just talk about Tekpon's product on tekpon.com, you can do a product launch or a AMA session. And every person who's joining the live stream is just joining on your website. So
Okay.
now you can talk to them about anything you want. You can get their customer data and you build your customer data profile. So all of this we enable.
That's a great example. Thank you for explaining. And what is the pricing for Backstage?
So we it's custom based on the different tiers of businesses. So it starts anywhere from $300 all the way to 2,500 to thousands of dollars depending on the business. So right now our focus is mostly enterprise clients, so that's where we are focused on.
Okay. And what integrations do you currently offer?
So the coolest thing is you get this entire technology with just a small piece of JavaScript on your website.
Okay.
There's no deep integration required. We have APIs. If you want more control over the customer experience, you can totally get that. We have plugins for Wix, Shopify, BigCommerce, uh, and yeah. So if you're not a tech person, you can directly install the plugin and get started right away.
Can you share with us one success story that you particularly enjoyed?
I think building the team, because me personally, I have worked for many corporate companies like Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan, Morgan Stanley. I have worked for multiple startups, B2B SaaS, consumer tech, led the engineering from the ground up,
Mm-hmm.
helped generate multi-million revenue, helped raise capital also. But in all of this, what I found was team building the team is the most critical part. So if you don't have the right team members, you can take a great idea and make it unsuccessful. But if you have a great team, you can take an average idea and make it very, very successful because they have the capability to reiterate them pivot when necessary. So that's why I'm very grateful that I have an awesome co-founder, Shashank, and I have an amazing leadership team, my chief business officer, Rishabh, and Mugdha, she's our head of content. So all of us actually, we brainstorm, we figure out whatever needs to be done, and we find a solution. So I would say because of the industry experience that we guys have, it really helps in terms of thinking about the product, thinking about customers, and being very innovative.
Yeah, well said. And when did you start the company?
So we started Backstage as the product. I would say the video offering earlier this year, but we launched the company in 2020, right
Mm-hmm.
when the pandemic. But we were doing something different. But as I was telling you about, we adapted, we pivoted
Yeah,
based on the market signals. We got here later this year or earlier this year.
yeah. And how big is your team right now?
So we are 13 people, six full time, and everybody else is part time. Uh, People that we worked with in the past. So these are the people that I worked with personally, or Shashank worked with in our previous corporate lives, or previous startups. They believe in our mission, so they're working part time with us.
That's fantastic. And have you raised any funding?
We did a bootstrap mostly and friends family, but right now we are not actively raising. We'll probably raise because we are a B2B company, so we are focused more on revenues than raising money.
That's it. What has been your biggest challenge since starting the company?
I think educating customers, educating our clients, I think that's one of the biggest things that I think everybody struggles with because uh, that's something that we are learning and evolving. For me personally, I think it was selling. Selling for me was the hardest thing coming from a complete tech background, being a technologist, being an engineer all my life. I never knew that there's an art to selling. So I think once I realized that why it is so important and how you need to make that emotional connection with your customers before you can actually start telling them about what Backstage does, for me, that was the hardest thing for me to learn.
What's your best piece of advice for a technical person that's starting to learn sales?
Don't do it.
Okay.
No, no, I'm just kidding. I would say that if, because it's a hard skill to do, I would I would recommend people to find the right partners who can help do that. But if you're a founder, you need to know how to sell because if founders cannot sell their own product, then no salesperson can come and magically start selling it. So I think very important to understand is ask a lot of questions instead of selling. Understand the customer's pain points that whether what you're selling is actually a multivitamin or is it actually a painkiller. So if it becomes a multivitamin, it's probably going to be on the side, never going to be used by anyone. If you're actually adding something of value, at the very least, you will know what needs to be changed in your product or updated in your product. So
Yeah.
those conversations are very worthwhile.
Thank you for sharing. What is your vision for Backstage for the future?
So we want Backstage to become the default customer experience platform for all businesses. So we want it to be, so for example, if you and I go to Nike.com, Nike.com should be able to understand my preferences, your preferences, and tailor my entire experience based on what I like. So that could be as simple as I'm just looking at a segment of running shoes. You, on the other hand, might be looking for other kind of shoes. So my segment and targeting should be very focused on the type of person who's coming and looking at it. And we want to enable that through right now live streaming because
Okay.
that's the easiest way to kind of uh, get the attention of consumers, and it adds more trust when you actually talk to a real human being. uh, Eventually we want this to be a combination of AI and humans, where we just want to make the human smarter by using AI, where you would have seen that everybody's running after AI and saying that, hey, how AI is going to change everybody's lives. We have taken a different approach. We say that we want to make the human smarter by the AI. We don't want to replace the human
Yeah.
because that's where AI was meant to be, right? AI was meant to make humans smarter. So that's we are firm believers of that.
Fantastic. What has been your biggest, best growth tactic for gaining new people?
I think it's been adding good value add for what you're building. if your product value proposition is good, customers will follow, and they become your biggest brand champions where they tell people about how uh, you are improving their
Yeah.
lives. Uh, it's a painful and slow process, but that's the best way to go about it. You can spend some money on growth tactics like ads, but being from the ad tech ecosystem, I understand that it doesn't really scale that well. So have good case studies, work with a couple of good clients, uh, and then make your product valuable so that it actually solves a problem.
Yeah, fantastic said. I'd love to hear your story. So you said you worked at multiple companies, but tell us the story from the beginning, how you started your career.
Sure, I have to go back in time.
Yeah.
So I actually came to the States in 2011 to do my master's. So
Okay.
I did my master's in computer science from Chicago. Right after graduating, I actually took a job with Goldman Sachs and moved to Dallas. That was with the real estate management division in technology, of course. But I was doing a lot of Excel and less of technology. So there was a point of time where I could tell you the future cash flows of a lease of a commercial property just by looking at the Excel. And I realized I didn't want to do that. I wanted to actually code systems, solve those problems.
Yeah.
So I took an internal mobility option and actually moved to New York with the investment banking division of Goldman Sachs. And that's where the bread and butter for Goldman Sachs is. That's where they make the most money. So I was fortunate enough to work with really, really smart people who gave me the right opportunities. So I created their big data system for investment banking. I was fortunate enough to work with some really cool products that actually got featured in Bloomberg also when I was working there. From Goldman Sachs, I moved to Morgan Stanley for a short time. Then I went to JP Morgan. I worked in corporate investment banking.
Oh,
Uh, did a bunch of really cool things, greenfield projects, where I was responsible for. Now the industry standard is using shit ton of data. That means a lot of data, and running a lot of aggregations, AI/ML models on that, creating smart decisions. And my job was to make sure that the IBD or investment banking sales reps look smart by the work we do. After that, actually, I went to a startup called Datamarks. So I got
okay.
a LinkedIn message from now my co-founder. He was the CTO of Datamarks at that point of time, and he sent me a message on LinkedIn saying that, "Hey, Preet, this is what we are doing at Datamarks. Your profile looks interesting. Would you be interested in having a conversation?" So we hit it off. He hired me to lead the engineering. We did a lot of cool things over there. After that, we decided whatever we do next, we do it together. After that, actually, I went to a different startup where I led the engineering of a fintech company and led the development of their award-winning platform. Also, got the best new initiative by Capital Markets. Led the development of another app called Flix. That was the previous version of Backstage. We won the
Okay.
best apps of Google Play Store 2020.
Oh,
Uh, and right now, yeah, most of my time is just Backstage. Uh, I also am a lead mentor in Founders Network, where I try to give back to the community as much as possible to other founders who have currently going through the journey that I've already gone through. I'm also a startup judge at Mass Challenge, the accelerator, and a guest speaker at Stevens Institute of Technology for their entrepreneurship class. And most of my day at Backstage right now just goes with a combination of tech, sales, marketing, everything that you can think of.
well, I think it's a lovely story, and yeah, I really enjoyed it. You put it great, and thank you for sharing the details.
Absolutely.
I'd love to know the best piece of advice for a starting founder. You've seen so many, so yeah, I'd love to hear that.
One thing that this was, I think the mistake that I probably also made was two main things, actually three main things, is founder bias. Something is very, very real. That sometimes when an engineer starts a product, they get carried away by building more and more features because they think that adding a new feature is going to change this, adding a new feature. So it's very hard to shut that founder bias off and say that I want to actually get validation from the market before I start building something else. And other thing that I would say is find the right team members because it's very, very hard. You can probably do it by yourself. I'm not saying it's not possible, but if you look at the success stories, a lot of people get burnt out. If you are really good at doing something, continue doing that. But for everything else, like sales, marketing, product, also get the people with those skills so that you can use them as sounding boards. You can obviously five minds are better than one mind, and they're working full time on that. You can brainstorm ideas. You can come up with something great. And That's why find the right team members that you can always rely on. I would say. And the last piece of advice that I would say is it's very different uh, when you're thinking of building a product versus building a company. Building a product is an engineer can build a product. Building a company, you need all those moving parts where you're saying that how you're creating value, how are you actually iterating and pivoting when necessary, and all those beautiful things. And if somebody wants to be an entrepreneur, I personally tell them don't, because it sounds sexy, it sounds amazing, but it comes with a lot of stuff. So if somebody comes to me and say that, hey, you're doing this, I want to do it, my personal advice first thing would be to ask them those questions and help them realize that it's much tougher. I'm not going to discourage people from doing it,
Yeah.
but don't do it because if you have a nice stable job going, don't do it.
Yeah, you help them see beyond the marketing and the part.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Absolutely. Yeah. What's your favorite SaaS product that you use apart from Backstage?
SaaS platform that I use. I actually really like Apollo.io.
Yeah.
That it's a great way to find contacts, lead information, especially their browser extension. I love it. That I can just go to somebody's LinkedIn profile and look at their email address and say that, hey, and I can create a whole lead list. I can filter based on industry region, things like that. And I am starting to use HubSpot. It was in the back burner for quite some time, but I'm really enjoying even HubSpot and all the integrations because they've made it very, very seamless. So I would say that if you're in that phase of actually starting to get some cold leads, you're trying to identify customers, definitely check out Apollo.
Okay, thank you for
Yeah.
sharing. Those were my main questions. I was curious to know if you'd like to share anything else on today's podcast.
Anything else? I mean, yeah, one thing that I would say that everybody is focused on how AI is transforming the world, and I think AI will transform the world like 100% where the
Yeah.
world is headed. But a lot of times when you're actually looking at high value customers, uh, you have to give them a premium experience. Otherwise, they will drop off and go to somebody another website. And there's so many studies out there that actually mention that if a business invests $1 in good customer experience, they return on an average 412 in terms of customer lifetime value. So the better customer experience that you give them, the better output that you would get. And this is not just for small size, medium sized businesses, enterprise. It's for all businesses of all shapes and sizes. And yeah, I would say the other thing is it's very important for businesses to kind of see what others are doing. If you start building things in silo, that's when I think the problem happens. Somebody's already built it, somebody already has an edge over it. So it's always good to be open about sharing your ideas also. I don't think it hurts. I think we have to get away from the mentality of stealth mode startups. If you do it in public, and I face the same thing that I thought that yeah, building it will come out with something cool. But if as you share, as you get more ideas, I think it evolves. And if somebody else, idea is what shit. Execution is where it counts. So if somebody's better at executing it, they are going to win, and that's fine. That's the fair game.
Yeah, you did fantastic. Thank you so much for joining. You shared amazing value. I'm super grateful.
Absolutely. It was nice talking to you, Christian.